We are live.
No countdown this time.
No
Just
countdown.
raw dogging that live. Raw dogging life.
The floor is yours.
Uh-oh. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Hexagon Tabletop Role-Playing Games. I'm Brent, and I'm thrilled to have you join us for today's adventure. We're going to be playing Progenitors Bloodlines. So grab your dice, settle in, and let's roll. I feel like I really like that line. Grab your dice, settle in, and let's roll. It's what you want to tell the other people at the table right when you get there, and they're kind of chit-chatting, and you're like, hey, people, I'm here to play. Let's roll. But today we're playing with, as always, four lovely players, starting with...
Me. Hi, I'm Simon. I play Wilm Fair. And Wilm, little known fact about Wilm, he was left-handed in the past. But whatever was done to him during the experiments gave him the dexterity to become ambidextrous.
Oh, damn.
Oh, she.
Oh my.
Well, let me give you in the audience a hand if you've forgotten who I am, because I am CJ, and I'll be playing the spidery Otto. I think Brent coined that term, and it flows off the tongue so well that now I'm stealing it.
It's 11.
So there's a thing about Otto, you see. There's a lot of like fun facts, I think, even just as a character that he'd like to remember about himself. But as we've established, there are a lot of them that are still lost to him. And so he's come to the habit of, I guess, latching on to other people's fun facts that he's either gained through experience or memory to supplement the loss of these little things that just, make you a well-rounded person. So that is to say that he is actively trying and failing miserably at mirroring other people's emotions, thanks to, well, I'll let you guess who on the party. So when he sees these big emotions, he'll internally try to process it and mirror it, but there's just something that he feels that that Peter's character has that he doesn't have himself, and so he's discovering this kind of emptiness in him, not only sexually, as we've understood last session, but emotionally, perhaps. And maybe that is part of the experimentation, or maybe it goes further than that, and that's something that he would like to discover.
Beautiful. Well, Tomas, he's discovered something too recently. This fun fact isn't something from like his past. It's like something very recent, and I'll say that it happened during the festivities towards the end of last session. There was a lot of partying. There was some eating of chicken and things. And I think some of his tribe members are any number of members of a circus troupe, or like ballerinas or dancers, and so he learned a few dance moves during the festivities. So now he's a really big fan of dancing. He never really knew what that was until that night. So now he just boogies out every now and then.
When the mood calls for it.
At the least opportune moments,
And while he boogies away, Quinn is sitting at the fire with her hands on her temple, being like, "This is nothing like my favorite toy from when I was a child, the Tamagotchi. I don't take care of just one little creature. I gotta take care of a bajillion of creatures." And that's my little fun fact. So she loves that Tamagotchi.
My goodness, a Tamagotchi.
Oh yeah, or whatever your universe version of virtual pet toy is.
No, Tamagotchi. I mean, it could have been that that it somehow made its way over to the tower. And
no, but that's it. It's from Earth.
We're going to the land of the Tamagotchi, and you're like, sign me up.
Yep.
My goodness. And if I was quiet during the introductions, don't mind me. I'm always just nodding, noting down, taking notes on everything that you're saying, because how else am I going to use it against you? But if you're here, say hi in chat and hit the follow button to stay in the loop. You can catch up on past episodes at the TheHexagonTTRPG over on YouTube. You can also find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. And without further ado, let's get started. Jazz cats in the background. Now, you might notice I got some boring mechanics gameplay file open up on the stream. And this is because at the end of last session, you know what? I should open up my notes here. At the end of last session, a lot happened last session, I think. Let me go over it in a little bit more context. We were in the memory, what was found out to be the Great Memory Tree Valeth. We found out about many whispered titles through the bodily fluids of the tree that were ingested by all 4 progenitors. There was a sort of vision, some sort of prophecy, a communication from other places in the world. And then you were led back to camp by denizens of the forest and given a mission to perhaps help the tree and in return you would be given accommodation in the forest, or at least help in settling this land. And so as everyone was considering what to do, you got back to camp and found what looked like a stereotypical caricature of a businessman fused with Satan, who was peddling wares, and mixed reactions all around. But he left the party, but not before giving you a bell, an iron bell. So someone who has the iron bell right now?
I believe it's Will.
Didn't he give it to Otto because Otto hadn't said anything? He purposely turned to Otto and gave it to him or something?
The way I would have taken that. I know he looked at me before he left, and he told me you can call him, but he didn't give me anything.
Okay, well then I guess he gave it to Wilm, being the only one that actually seemed to be okay with him.
Yeah.
Actually speaking to him. Absolutely. So Will, make sure it's on your character sheet. You have an iron bell, dark black iron, that you can ring. So if you ring it with intent, you may summon Hunson, and perhaps you may trade. And we left off with a little moment for each of the 4 factions where you basically I just had you roll to start off your civilization on hopefully the right foot. And now that brings us to today's session, which is going to be really after that first step, this is, maybe the first mile. So I'm going to introduce everybody to the mechanics that I've thought up. This is not going to be your typical, this is how we're going to do it and let's just play it. I would really love for some feedback from the whole group. If we don't like how this is going to play out, then let's kind of talk about it now. And if we really don't like these mechanics, the backup plan is there's a whole bunch of stuff necessary, kind of in the day-to-day in the party. We can always jump back to first person and play out what's happening next. Because there is the mission for the Great Tree. There is that vision that you were shown. So there are other things afoot that the party knows about right now. Everybody sound okay with that?
Sounds great.
Cool.
That works.
Okay, sweet. So let's dive into some of these mechanics that I got up on screen. So I don't have anything visual to show us, which is unfortunate, but this is going to be some sort of a civilization builder minigame, metagame kind of component to Cypher. Basically, the idea is that it's going to be a core cycle of 1 year, at least for the beginning parts of this. I think if we end up playing the Progenitors Bloodlines for a while, we might start seeing bigger and bigger gaps in terms of the number of years. But it depends, how big your civilizations get, kind of deal. Because I don't know how familiar everyone here is with our own history, but it took many, many years to build the pyramids. So if you have like some sort of like great wondrous work that you want to enact, it might take your population some time. But basic idea, core cycle, the year turn. Each round represents one in-game year. And during this phase, each player would take a turn to declare a focus or project. You can declare multiple focuses, but you have to declare them all at the beginning of the turn. You would use one ability or cipher to represent your influence per project, per focus. And then you attempt a roll based on the difficulty of that project. Make sense?
I think so.
Okay. The basic idea is that you're using your abilities on like a grander scale, but we're gonna like use the resource management of like a single turn to kind of like take care of that. The only tweak I'm really making to it is that you're going to be able to use like multiple ciphers potentially, one per project, or multiple abilities, one per project. The alternative there is that we just use one ability or cipher per year turn, which is like closer to an actual like turn of gameplay in the cipher system. How do you all feel about that? I felt like it was like not enough, especially if you want to focus on like 2-3 things.
I guess it depends on how much you think we can accomplish in a year.
Yeah.
So potentially, like, if we plan on having multiple things we need to do in a year, it might be like more difficult to accomplish them because we're trying to like jam pack stuff in. But like, let's say, or like we can have like a base of, I don't know, like 2 or 3 that we can attempt to do. But if we go any higher, it'll be more difficult. If we go lower, it'll be easier. I don't know.
So that is coming next. So over here, the first focus of each year is a difficulty 3. And then each additional year is 2 steps. So difficulty 5 and then difficulty 7. So things get much more difficult very quickly. So trying to do too many things in a year ends up being like really, really hard. The flip side is that I'm fine with you guys using, basically resources in terms of your character sheets to try and mitigate those costs. Right? Probably in the form of effort, probably in the form of different pools that you have, probably in the form of items, like in terms of ciphers. So I think there's a lot of play in terms of like what your characters are going to be able to do. Right now, you don't really have any ciphers. So you won't. It's like you don't get to start the game with like some cool items to help you like skip the initial hurdles.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds fair to me.
All right. Yeah. So can spend effort, apply skills or assets, use your pools. If a pool is reduced to 0 during this, I think basically you get taken out of the running. It's like you become exhausted. So you're not able to, basically focus on other things. There are interference mechanics. So basically there are outside factions, right? There are roaming monsters. There are potentially, I want to say like barbarian factions and stuff like that. Pirates. There could be all kinds of things out there in the world. There's a world outside of what's happening, in the civilization. So there's interference in the roles that can happen. You guys can interfere with each other if you so choose. You can attempt to aid each other if you so choose, but it's going to cost resources. And then it becomes a contested role, and then whoever's successful imposes a penalty to the other. What this means, though, is that if you are potentially attacked during the civilization phase, if it's a weaker, if it's like a small barbarian tribe or something like that, you're probably going to prevail. So instead of doing combat, we're going to do it through the civilization mechanics. and basically you would use up one of your pools to defeat this enemy. So there's a little bit of risk here in terms of if you use a bunch of effort on some of your tasks, and then another faction comes in and interferes, then it could cost you, and then it could take you out of the round, and then you don't get to finish all the projects you wanted to finish for that year. Make sense?
All right.
Yeah.
Speaking of external events, there's going to be something called world events that I'm going to roll at the beginning of every year cycle. And that is like what happens that year. Is there a flood, a famine, nothing? Is there raids incoming? So at the beginning of the round, before you declare what your projects are, you, I think, are going to have an idea of like what might be coming this round. So if you know that, okay, well, there's like barbarians in the area, you don't know who specifically they're targeting potentially, but you know that they're coming. So maybe that you would choose kind of like along those lines.
And because we're on like the same island in a sense, they would all we would all be affected by the same world events throughout that year.
Yeah, I think the idea with the world events is that they're probably going to be larger scale. If you guys decide to move away from each other, maybe it would be different world events. In some cases, maybe it would be the same, depending on what's rolled.
Okay.
So, yeah, opportunities, difficulty, threats to resources or stability. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. When you grow your settlement, depending on what projects and tasks you focus on, you can get assets, NPCs, and you advance your tracks. These are the 5 tracks. Now, I don't see it there. These are the tracks. So the tracks, I think you guys don't really need to have these on hand right away. Basically, the way that these increase is not only just by focusing on them, but oftentimes you have to pair that with either finding an NPC in the wild, finding a rare resource. Like basically, you might have to go on quests to increase these. So each of them, defense, magic, tech, culture, and economy, have like really cool bonuses the further like down you get. This is a ton of information, and I'm not going to read through it all because I don't want to overwhelm you guys because it's already enough. But basically, it's like the first levels of these are like watch posts, right? Ritual grounds. Like you can start laying some groundwork. But then quickly, like, for certain things like tech, for the power grid, you're going to require to go find and like start mining some metal and having resources and being able to like set these things up. So some of these are a little bit inaccessible to start. Now, last but not least is stability. So this is cohesion, morale, leadership, integrity, probably health. It's a numerical value, but also can trigger decay mechanics. So basically, you start at a 6 stability as long as you complete a major infrastructure project, you advance 2 or more development tracks in a single round, you successfully resolve a world event that threatens a city specifically, you spend a whole turn on a stabilize action, which counts, like basically it's just like you're just trying to stabilize your society. And that bumps you back up to 6. You lose stability for poorly handled world events. If you do not develop a track for 2 consecutive turns, if a project critical to a city fails, so it's like interfered with, broken, destroyed, say you had a power grid and then someone comes and blows it up and reduces that track, faction infighting. And then that'll start to bring you down. And then basically 6, 5, you're good. 4, you have to be careful because then you can start incurring rolls for decay. And then super down here, you start getting major calamities and it starts dropping you back down on the civilization track. So these are like really, really bad. Decay has a little math roll. I'm not super big on this algorithm just yet, but I don't know that we're going to get to it today. All right. How overwhelmed is everybody?
I think the general gist of it makes sense, and
Mhm.
once we start actually like playing it and seeing what happens, it's I think it should
It's
be
solidified.
simple enough, maybe.
No, but that's it. It's like when you play a new board game for the first time and someone just reads you the rules and
Yeah.
you're looking at them like, okay, but in action, I don't know yet. So we gotta do it to know.
Mhm.
So I feel the same way. That's also a lot for me. I'm like, oh, on paper, this is really fun. In
Mhm.
practice, is it actually fun?
Yeah.
Is this going to be cool?
And I have a thought too, is that it's not just going to be like, okay, year one, say what you do, roll, outcome. Like there's going to be like, you're going to be describing things, and there's going to be like little bits of like, okay, this is what happens to your tribe, and then they come in, and then we'll add the stuff onto it. So it's like a discussion, you know. It'll
We've been on the same page since the start. You guys have been preempting what I'm about to say by 1 second. Exactly. I think the crux of this is a tabletop role-playing game. It's not a board game. The rules are all up in the air. It's all homebrew. We're going to figure it out together. So let's take it year by year, as it were.
Aye, Captain.
Aye, Captain. Aye, Overseer. Your new title.
So,
before, I think really we're going to start before year one. It's going to be year 0, right? We're still in the camp. You guys get up the next day. You've had these talks with all of your factions, right? You've started to plant these seeds. What do you want to do? Do you want to pursue anything right now as a party? Like, basically, I'm asking, like, do you want to go on a journey anywhere to try and find this prophesied land where, like, you saw that figure with the deer skull with the antlers and the book in the swamp? Or do you want to jump straight into the first core cycle year turn? There's big choices.
yeah,
Because
this is a big
when we're slow time, I feel like you can get a lot of stuff done as like
Mhm.
super powerful characters. But when we're fast time, you can get a lot of big stuff done.
Like Wilm is a little not essentially threatened, but like he's worried about what might happen if that book goes unchecked, and if like someone like starts using it. So he would be interested in going to look for it and kind of keep it out of the wrong hands.
Yeah, and Tomas is interested in the visions, but I don't know if that's necessarily like the first thing that he wants to do. I mean, we just got back. It was kind of like a near-death situation. I think he just wants to sort of focus on some stuff around the camp with his tribe, help people out, gather materials that they need, you know, just sort of like not really thinking in the grand scheme of things just yet, if this is like the day after, you know what I mean?
Yeah, agreed. I think the only place I'm thinking of moving is back to that tree.
Mhm.
That's like I think my character would probably be interested in like figuring out how to settle, but also knowing that we could get a better placement if the tree's on our side. So helping the tree would help us back type thing.
Right. So,
Okay.
Will, what do you have to say about that?
I mean, he doesn't mind scouting either. He'll leave his like people and a few like I guess not lieutenants, but people who seem to be a bit more handy in organizing to kind of run things for a little bit to make sure that everyone has the things they need to gather the things they do or the things they're missing. But he does want to kind of try and scout out that area because again the tree gave him this message. So I think for him it's like, okay, this is something that's important to the tree, and the tree was asking for our help, so might as well get that over with.
If you need some of my people, you can take them with you. Or if you're forming like a team or something that's going out there.
I have the map here, such as it is. I think this is the old map. It's the one I had handy, though. So, Will, you want to set out for a whole year and scout?
I mean, I'm not sure like how long it's supposed to take, like how far it is or anything. Like that's why like what are we starting in? Are we starting in the fast or the slow?
I think what I'm hearing as a DM is that there's 3 votes on the slow to take care of the forest cleanup project to basically have a home base of operations. The scouting, I think that because there's 3 votes for slow time, we would go with slow time.
Fast time.
With fast time. So
Okay.
basically, your project would be to go do this.
So in that case, because I don't think it would take a year to just go there and back.
Where are you trying to go?
Well, this place that they gave visions of.
You don't know where that is.
Okay, fair. So then, yeah, in that case, it would take time. But I feel at the same point, because he wouldn't know where it is, he'd also be able to find potentially like important resource points as well on the island or wherever they are.
Sure.
So like if that is also counted in the scouting, I feel like that would be worthwhile to do. As he's like looking around for this one place, he won't find it right away, but he'll find other places on the throughout the land that'll be either important resourcefully or just like strategically or what have you. And he'll start making a map.
Okay. So I think that means we're going in slow time. So at the top of the round, I'm going to basically roll for the world event. And that's going to help each of you, I think, be specific about what your goals are going to be, like what your tasks are. So I hear you on the scouting stuff. I'm like, hold on. You're going to be able to change your mind as you see the dynamic landscape of what's going on.
Cool.
Okay. I'll tell everybody I rolled a 2. Oh baby.
What does that mean? Oh no.
As you guys make your way into the forest and you begin to set up shop, set up camp, you begin to divvy up your tasks, use your commodities that you got from Hunson. Will, you start to put together a little bit of a like scouting party, picking some people who would be best used for the job, at the discretion of the other 3 progenitors that are part of the party. But very quickly, you start to appreciate the protection that the trees provide, because a foul-smelling wind starts to ruffle the leaves of the trees. There's a literal dusty kind of thickness to the air outside of the forest, and you can tell that the memory tree is emitting as much magic power as it can to try and keep the forest as healthy as it can. All of a sudden, in some of the like more there was like little plains and like unforested areas on this island, they start to, in these fields, grow mushrooms. And these mushrooms are in varying sizes, varying shapes. But within just a couple of days, you start to notice that insects and animals that were roaming through the countryside, some of them have turned into what are essentially zombies. They are fungus riddled creatures that are spreading the spores further and further. The denizens of the forest now basically have to pick up arms and hold the infected creatures at bay from entering the forest and further spreading the toxic jungle. This is I almost rolled an @1, so this is one of the worst
right off the bat.
possible.
Oh no.
Oh
Not the
no.
clickers, man.
And basically dark clouds blot out the sky. The sun is dim. There's, it is looking bad. And this is the event that is basically going to flavor this year, essentially. We are starting off on a horrible foot. But not all hope is lost. You do have an island, a literal island in the storm. You are literally in a haven with this memory tree. Now, I would like everybody go ahead and roll initiative. I'm going to roll initiative for the
Don't mind if I
Oh boy.
19.
8.
19, 8.
6.
6. Quinn?
14.
14. All right, so we're going to go in order, starting with 19. And you get to on each of your turns, I think that there should be like you're able to discuss with all of your comrades what you're going to do. So there's kind of like a diplomacy to your turn. So, Tomas, what are you thinking of doing? There's this, these toxic spore bloom storm that's happening, that's like blooming, whatever's not protected. Even the water, the ocean outside is like a purplish color, deep and dark.
Oh gosh. Well, okay, so do we start getting attacked by like mushroom creatures right away?
There's starting to be these attacks. I think like right at the beginning, there's like rabbits and stuff. There's like fantasy rabbits, like they have like the horn or whatever, and they're like attacking at the beginning of the trees. But that it's going to get worse.
Right.
If anybody like gets infected by this, all of a sudden you have like a zombie, like a literal zombie on your hands.
Oh gosh. Okay. I think the first thing Tomas would do, and please tell me if you guys try and stop Tomas from doing this, but it's just like shore up defenses, create like a perimeter near the edge of the forest and stop any of these creatures from getting in. Maybe even like I imagine the forest isn't doing it. I mean, the forest is also trying to protect itself. Like there were trents and there were all sorts of like weird little fake creatures and stuff. So yeah, just forming like a line with these forest creatures and protecting the forest.
Okay. Is that the only focus that you want to have for this year's cycle?
I mean, this seems pretty bad. I was thinking of like also just like I wanted to take time to introduce the tribe to the forest and sort of like try and connect them on a deeper level, but I don't know if there's necessarily like the time for that if all this is happening. And also Tomas kind of likes fighting stuff, so I think like it's not like the worst in his mind, but like for other people it's probably really terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do your second role as a cultural role to to basically begin and start to introduce them to the forest, I think you can go ahead with that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess if there's like some downtime,
Yeah, basically it's just harder. So if you're focusing on the fighting, so the difficulty level starts difficulty level 3, that's a 9 on the die. You can use effort if you want to make it easier.
All right. And what say the rest of you? Does that sound good with all of you?
I feel like that would be a good start. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if we'd be able to, like, even amongst all of us, to be able to protect the whole, like, border of the forest, but we can definitely get a good portion of it, at least where we are.
Mhm.
And if not, potentially, like, I don't know, start digging some sort of deep trench or something around the parts we can't defend to make it inaccessible. But I know the tree also said, like you said, that you put up some sort of defense, like some magic barrier of some sort. Right?
That's it. I think an appeal to the tree to be like, this can affect your home as much as it can affect our people. Probably make it.
I think that's why it did put up that
Mhm.
barrier around it. That's why it's like it said it was like putting out as much magic as it could to
Mhm.
keep this sort of like shield around the forested area to keep as much
That's
out
it.
as possible.
Yeah,
But this would
I
be
would
like
even
helping
say
it.
you guys go to like you talk to Valeth, you know, all of you at some point come to have this discussion and talk about what to do. And Valeth isn't answering, but you can see it like just humming with power, and it kind of slowly draining that magical energy.
Okay. Another thing I think I would do is I would try to investigate this sort of, I don't know what to call it, a virus, fungi infection. What is this exactly?
And we don't know yet.
I
So
don't know.
I
Okay,
think
so I will try to discern what it is.
Okay, yeah.
we're getting into actions for other people, so I think that's it for
Mhm.
diplomacy for this. So I think, Tomas, you picked what you want to do with your two focuses. First of all, you're going to be the front line and defend this forest. You're going to send your people forth. You're going to defend the entrances to the forest from these toxic spores and this infection that's going on.
Mhm.
The second thing that you're going to do is as they, you know, they take their breaks or they take their shifts and they come back into the forest, you're going to focus on, kind of integrating them with the forest, and creating a connection between them and the land.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also Simon wants to say something. So
Yeah, like I don't know,
hear.
like I don't want to like interrupt or anything, but like how in this case, like if for example, like we would want to like aid in a task, like how would that work? And would that then like also like benefit the group or just like the individuals helping? Like how would that
Absolutely. I would let each progenitor, I think, like aid somebody else during the year cycle. And basically, you can roll, you would have to spend resources as if they were effort.
okay. But then because we're using those resources, would we also gain the benefit from that role or like
You're giving away those resources basically to help aid the other faction.
okay. So it's okay.
Yeah.
And
So
when would that
potentially you're not using them on yourself, kind of deal is the idea.
and when would that like come into play? Like would we have to like wait for their role and then be like, oh, I want to help, or like would we
No, you're declaring it at the right time. I think just the same way that we use effort in the base game, you declare it at the like before you know the result, you would do it now.
Okay, because I do feel like defense would be important around the like to defend as much as we can. Yes, there's the magic barrier, but if the tree is already like doesn't have as much magic as it can normally do, like utilize because of like whatever's already infecting it at the very like beginning before this fungal infection, we would need to have some sort of defense as well. So Wilm, I don't, like, is it considered a resource to give out like manpower?
Yeah. We'll count them as resources towards your.
Because like he would send in particular those of his people that can actually like physically use like fire magic
Yeah.
to help, like because he feel like that would probably be the most useful in defending against like some sort of like fungal creatures.
Yeah. So in this
Like a
case,
long-range projectile type defense.
I think like you've hit on something, which is I think eventually I would require like resources maybe from your tracks or something like that to be able to do something like this, to lend the manpower. I think in this case though, it's a little bit more intimate where probably you would have to teach your people a little bit about what you already know about fire magic and then send them to the front line.
Okay.
So I think in this case, I will require you to spend effort from your might pool. So basically, it's going to cost you 3 might points to, you basically have to train so many people and get them out there.
So might to train in magic?
Yeah, for stamina to have to endure like, long days training people over and over again.
And yeah, I guess he'll spend those.
If you want to argue for intellect, I wouldn't say no. If you're trying to be like efficient about it, like.
Well, that's kind of like I was thinking like more like a magic would be like more of a mental strain, but if you're going like it'd be if physically draining, then I mean whatever you wish.
No, I'm fine with that. I think that makes sense too.
Okay, then I would prefer to do an effort in intellect, especially because I have already an edge in intellect, so it would reduce the cost a tad.
Nice. Yes.
And so yeah, I would aid Tomas in that respect.
Okay. So Tomas, you're going to get a bonus to your roll. This is something that is less often used in Cypher, so you're going to get a +1.
All right.
So it can bump you into the next tier, depending on where you roll.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you want me to give you the roll now?
Go ahead.
Okay. And wait, so sorry, is it 2 rolls?
So we're going to do the first one.
things?
We're resolve them one at a time, I think, just to keep it easy.
That's a 3.
Okay. On a 3, getting to a 4, you're bolstered by the flame of Wilm's people. Wilm spending energy, spending resources to get them to be magically proficient and join your warriors on the front line with the Treants, with the Fae. Right, Valeth is adding his power to keep this at bay as well to stop the infection. Unfortunately, it's not enough to prevent the infection from slowly creeping into the forest in the form of infecting the warriors who were fighting on the front lines.
Mm-hmm.
And so unfortunately what this means is, 1, we're immediately going to go down to a 5 on the stability track for the settlement. And basically it's like people start to get a little bit sick. There's magic here, and it's like it's holding off the infection from actually turning people into zombies. But the air, the toxicity is starting to make inroads into the forest. The second thing is that everybody is going to take 3 might points of toxic damage from being in proximity to all of this.
Okay.
Yeah, and you're all healed up to full, by the way, since the last time. So it's like we're starting kind of.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
So good.
You know what would have happened regardless if you hadn't tried to stop it, so you could have just prevented it. But you spoke up and you did what should have been done.
Great. Now for your second roll, this is a difficulty of 3, 4, a difficulty of 5, which is going to be a 15 on the die. And this is to create a connection between your clan and the forest. I need faction names for each of you. I'm realizing that I'm using a different word every single time. I informally have them as the clan for Tomas, Phoenix for Wilm, Science for QT, and Spider for Otto. I could use something better.
I'm not too sure.
The Ottoman Empire.
Yo, please, just that's so good.
They're not man, they're arachnid.
Autorachnid.
Autorachnid.
Can it just be the autos?
Well, now it's freaking lame again. Come on.
You got the autos, I got the queenies.
The greenies.
We got the Tomases and the Wills.
Just everyone's
Wilmers.
Tomas.
I am Tomas. No, I am Tomas.
I don't know.
We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. Do the
Yeah,
roll.
I'll
I'm
do the-
gonna put a
This is fun to
placeholder
think about.
Phoenicians,
Ooh, the Phoenicians.
Ooh,
Phoenicians.
yeah.
like a PHEONICIANS.
Yes.
Phoenicians.
Nice.
Correct.
Okay. Second roll is a 10.
A 10. And so, again, not enough. You attempt to pour some effort into basically the culture track tech. But in these hard times, it is tough to focus on building a culture when many of your people, are basically ill. And so I think a little bit of that, effort in trying to connect with the forest is lost.
All right. It was worth the try.
It's a hard first year.
Yeah. Color of the week.
Startups usually are.
That was a 19. The next in line was a 14
Yeah, Quinn.
for Quinn.
Me.
Quinn, what are your big projects you may discuss with the other players?
Make sure we have enough healing thingies, especially now when people are getting sick more than ever. So making lots of that harp paste for magic and health. And then I want to use my D-pad to figure out if this thing is from this planet, like to identify what this is. What this biology is that's infecting everything.
Perfect. Okay.
And
So
so maybe find an antidote. I don't know.
Ooh.
hell yeah. So I'm hearing 2 rolls. First one for healing.
Mhm.
And then the second one for basically trying to find out more about this toxic cloud
Pretty much.
or toxic storm. Okay. Are you going to try to solicit help for anybody for the first one? Does anybody want to offer help?
How could I
For
help?
making herbs, I think just my people will be fine enough. Like you guys don't necessarily need.
I think both my actions that I had planned would help Tomas and Quinn, but until my turn, I can't have said I have them yet. So that's why it's a very weird because there's initiative. I don't they would be helping, but at the same point they haven't happened yet. So I don't know.
You know what? I'll give you a handful
A handful.
of spiders that
8
have
hands?
DNA absorbing capabilities if they are
Alright.
already infected. If it comes to that, I guess that's up to Brent if that just so happens.
People
they
are
are-
already infected. He'd said before for the warriors had been affected.
Yeah. So I think basically this is the same thing. I'm going to make it cost you personally some points.
Sure.
In terms of what exactly your projects are, Simon, and would that help? Would they take time to build or collect or something?
That's it. Like, because again, if I guess I'm next after Quinn technically, but like I've been planning on, because scouting wouldn't work in this like fungal cloud of a world now. I was planning on trying, because Wilm had collected old technology from the angels that had fallen, or that we had beaten.
Yes, you have the little squid dude's D-pad, right?
Mm.
And some of
And
the
the
armor.
like energy whip and like the armor and things like that. Like I picked up what he'd had on him. And so like I was going to like research tech and to see if there would be any way of like kind of understanding that and modifying its use.
Yeah,
To
I think
aid in like
the initiative is how long it's taking to research that.
which is fair, but like I'm not sure at what point it would come in to then be able to aid. But I guess if I'm after Dana at that point, it wouldn't come in on time to help.
Yeah, no.
But it could be that I can help you when it's your turn, right? Because it
Yes.
is like similar focus. I have a D-pad myself, so I would be very interested in like if you can figure out, I would want to help on that.
Like yeah, because like I'm also using the D-pad and like figuring out like its capabilities. Like it would also be kind of piggybacking on Dana's use of the D-pad to then investigate the virus itself. And the magic would be like in the way of like teaching them flame / just like kind of magic in general, to see like is maybe a magical thing that's currently going on and not some sort of viral thing, or like some combination of magic and viral. But yeah, that would be on my turn. So like
That's
it would have to be after Diana's.
Can we choose to take our turn? Like if we're earlier in the initiative, can we choose to take it after?
Good question.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of like abilities in Cypher. I don't think there's any initiative specific abilities. Often the way that player turns are divided in Cypher is either all the players go and then all the enemies go, or do what I did this time, which is I rolled an enemy initiative, and then there's kind of like there's some of you before and then some of you after.
Gotcha.
How do you guys want to go about this going forwards?
So
I like
my,
you guys not knowing when the enemy is, but
yeah.
I can tell you three are before the enemy kind of deal.
Okay. It's just for me, like I feel like it's a little strange continuity wise for us to like be going, if this is like over the course of a year, for us to be going like, you know, okay, like Tomas shores up the defenses, they get sick. It's like, why, you know, if
Why
that's
is this
what's
happening
happening, why
concurrently?
aren't why aren't the others like joining in if they think this is really bad, or why aren't they doing something else that might end up helping it? You know, it's like I don't know how this would work. Like you know, it's just that's like my concern right now. Because I feel like typically when we do combat, we just sort of like say like, okay, like I'll go next or whatever, you know, like if it's all of us in the initiative, you know, we sort of like we just like pass it on to like whoever's gonna go next, or if somebody wants to go first.
Could as we have like multiple like projects in a year, could we potentially like instead of the aid almost being like, okay, well, one of my projects this year was this, would that be able to aid in their project for the year, and that would be the aid, like so they would do their role on their own project. If their project was successful, they would lend the aid to the other player.
I want to say no, because it's combining too many things into one.
Okay.
I really do want you to have to spend resources to do extra stuff. I think that's the kind of the idea. Like even for like, because again, I learned from DMing for you guys last time. Like I am expecting you to use effort at every possible turn, right? Like you should be spending resources on stuff that you want to succeed. So that's what I'm kind of like cluing in. So you guys holding back on using resources is fine, but it means that things will be kind of difficult to attain.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of by design.
I'm just like, I'm trying to think of a way that it feels more fluid, because I was thinking of like hunters, going back to like Siege's campaign. I know you weren't there, but the way that we interacted, we could piggyback on each other's actions in a way, and it could still have a detriment. Like someone helping might not result in actually helping in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's possible where like Simon's character wants to do something very similar to me. Like he can try and help me, but it might not be as successful of a help necessarily. Try to do with tag teamed. I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Okay, I have maybe a new way to do this that could be more interesting.
Mhm.
So what if we do it so that there's an initiative roll, there's one roll for all of the players, one roll for the enemy factions, and then so you guys pick whoever wants to roll the dice for that year, whatever it is, and then either the enemies will go first or you will go first. If it is your turn, then instead of announcing, like in a row or whatever what the projects will be, you guys discuss amongst yourselves what the first project is, right? Basically, who is going to roll, who is going to like use abilities to do something first. So say it was Tomas in this case, it would be a difficulty, like the first step difficulty. Then the next person to go, right? It could be Tomas again, but then he would be at the second step difficulty. Or basically what I'm trying to say is like you can stack actions on top of each other in whatever order you want, and multiple people can go in a row. But for each successive action, it will go up a step in difficulty the more that you guys pile on. If it is directly related to the action before it, you can basically try and get an asset, right? So like Will, you coming to help with the defense by using fire, you would get an asset because you're reinforcing Tomas.
You mean Tomas would get an asset?
No, you would get an asset on your roll to like bolster, like to also take the defensive action. That's how Cypher works, right? It's like him doing this has created an opening for you to help and do better. So even if he failed, like you would be able to, if you're directly interacting with what's going on with his stuff, you would then be able to like potentially like be able to stand on his shoulders, kind of deal.
Right, but you'd said that the aiding doesn't actually get us anything. It just uses our resources. So like we aren't rolling, we're just saying we're aiding.
I think this is a new way.
No, I'm
to...
proposing like a completely new way. Scrap the old way of what we were talking about of how to do turns.
Okay.
Like a completely new way of doing turns, where it is non-linear. Everybody can go at the same time. You can take as many actions as you want, but the more actions that the group takes as a whole, the harder everything becomes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like this is like the defense for whatever, and then like so, and I say like I want to aid. We're technically both having a defense project that year.
There's no more aiding. Like so, Tomas
You're just
chooses
doing a project that's like the same.
Yeah,
But
you're doing the same thing.
But you would do it like for yourself.
But like because I'm focusing on the magic of my people that would then go to defend, would it be a defense or a magic track?
It'd be two separate things.
I think that's for you to kind of argue or discuss with me in the moment. I think if it would be like if you wanted it to be a defense task, then you would probably get the asset from going to reinforce to Tomas's clansmen. But if you wanted it to be a magic track, then maybe it would be more about learning and educating your people to go fight. In which case, maybe you don't get the asset because your purpose is a little bit different.
In this world, could he take another action after and then use that magic to help? But then it would be harder because it was 2 actions later. But then he would have an asset.
I would let the asset exist. If Tomas is on the front lines, because I think what you guys are saying is right. Like it doesn't make sense to have things like weirdly disjointed if you're all doing them over the course of a year.
Yeah.
So it's like even if 5 actions later, someone is like, "Oh well, Tomas is on the front line. Can I get an asset from him being on the front line? I'm going to go help defend or something." Like I think I should just allow that. Like basically, it's for this round that is happening, so you should be able to use it to your advantage.
But technically, my action also does help Tomas's action. So, like theoretically, I feel like it should also be giving an asset forward if it's successful.
I would say so, but then like this is up to you guys. You guys would need to plan what the order of your actions for the round are going to be.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, so, like, if like Peter had said, okay, like I feel like shoring up the defensive barrier around the forest is a good idea. That's what I want to do with my people. Be like, cool, I want to jump in on that. I want to help you do that. Like that's like me saying, like, I want to help. Like I want to give you an asset. I want to like make it easier for you to do that. Like let me lend you some resources to do so. I would have to be successful but like then that would be like me trying to give him an asset. But you're saying that the asset
What I'm
kind of
saying,
comes onto my role.
there's no more aid. There's no more giving someone an asset. He is saying that I'm going to do this. There's a role. There's an outcome as a part of that. And then you guys, as a group, decide what your next task is going to be.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense.
Yeah. If we get too much, it's like talking about like 6-second rounds kind of thing. If we get too much into it, it won't make it. Like if we break
Like
it down,
this
way
is
too
still
much.
a game, and there has to be an order of events for
Yeah.
it to make sense. And
Yeah.
each player has separate resources now in the form of a character and of like a small like nation. So like yeah, things happen at the same time, but I think like this way is a lot easier. There's no stepping on each other like in between, like trying to do like reactions to stuff and like help people do things. It's like you just have to pick the way that you want to do things. So if you want to help the warriors before they go to the front, I would say that you have to like, okay, hold on before you go to the front. My faction is going to do something with magic, and then we're going to give you an asset going forwards. When you go into the battle, you'll have fire at your command. If they're already fighting and then you go to reinforce them, you get the asset on being able to apply the fire because they're basically taking a hit from you.
Okay. In that case, like if you were saying that I needed the time to train the people, I wouldn't be able to give them that asset before the fighting. It would only be after they started fighting, I assume.
Yeah, it's like instead of offering another person help, you're just doing something for the group. Like let's like you wanna impart fire to shore up the defenses. You would like train your people. You do the role. You hope you get a good role, and then when I would come in to do the defense role, I would get an asset based on the result of whatever you did. That's how I'm understanding it. So it's like we would have to we would just have to pick. So at the start of the year, okay, there's a mushroom fungal thing that's happening. Who's like, what's the first thing we should do as a big group? We decide which faction's going to do what, and then we just sort of cascade down.
Yeah, basically it's Persona 5. Every time you take an action, time advances a little bit, and you can only take like one action at a time. So, but doing certain actions first will give you bonuses for the actions that come later.
Okay.
I mean, I've already went with a couple actions, so I guess we just start after those.
Hold on. I'm going to propose we just restart.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just fully changed how this works.
Okay.
We're going to retcon right here. Cut the episode.
Well, bio break
we
and
can
come
break,
back,
yeah.
and it's
A little bio break. Okay.
Yeah.
What time is it now?
that
Yeah, it's
works.
perfect timing for a bio. When we come back, we're going to restart the year of the Toxic Explorer.
Yeah. No more mushroom people. All right.